For years, there was an unspoken rule in the world of artificial intelligence. If you wanted to build the most powerful AI, you needed American chips. That world was dominated by one company, Nvidia, whose powerful GPUs became the literal engine of the AI revolution. But what if that era is over? A Chinese startup is making a bold declaration of independence. The story goes that it's building its next-generation AI, called DeepSeek V4, exclusively on homegrown Chinese technology. And the rumored specs are good enough to challenge the world's best. This isn't just about a new piece of software, it's a potential farewell to US chips and the start of a new, high-stakes front in the global race for AI supremacy. This is the story of how China, backed into a corner by American sanctions, might not have just survived, it may have created a parallel universe for AI. A world built on American silicon. To get why this is such a big deal, we have to rewind. The story of modern AI is really the story of the graphics processing unit, or GPU. These were originally designed to make video games look pretty, but researchers figured out the unique parallel processing power was perfect for training the massive neural networks that power AI. One company, Nvidia, completely mastered this market. Its CUDA software became the industry standard, creating a huge protective moat around its hardware. If you wanted to build a cutting-edge large language model, you didn't just want Nvidia chips, you needed them. They were the new oil, the fuel for the age of AI. This dominance gave the United States an incredible amount of leverage. As tensions with China grew, Washington saw this reliance on American tech as a critical choke point. In October 2022, the Biden administration rolled out a massive set of export controls, effectively cutting China off from the world's most advanced AI chips, like Nvidia's A100 and H100. The strategy was described as a small yard, high fence. The small yard was the very specific technology of high-end AI chips. The high fence was a wall of restrictions designed to stop China from getting or making them, hoping to slow down its military and tech ambitions. The logic seems solid. Without the best hardware, how could China possibly keep up in a field that demands exponentially more computing power? Analysts predicted a computing power shortage that would set China's AI industry back by years. And for a while, it looked like it was working. Chinese tech giants scrambled for the last remaining Nvidia chips, and a gray market for smuggled processes popped up. The US government kept tightening these controls through 2023 and 2024, closing loopholes to make sure the fence stayed high. This put Nvidia in a tough spot. China was a huge market. In response to the bans, Nvidia designed less powerful, export-compliant chips like the H20. But the policy whiplash was intense. In early 2025, reports suggested the US government told Nvidia that even its compliant H20 chip would need a license, after it was reportedly used to train powerful Chinese AI models. Then, in a confusing reversal, the administration was said to have approved licenses for the H20 and even the more powerful H200 for some customers, supposedly in exchange for revenue-sharing deals and big investments in US-based manufacturing. All this back and forth created chaos, but Washington's message was clear: the flow of top-tier American tech to China would be controlled. The era of easy access was over. The world's AI superpower had drawn a line in the sand, assuming its tech supremacy was untouchable. But in doing so, it accidentally lit a fire under China's own ambitions, turning a business rivalry into a national mission for technological independence. As they say, necessity was about to become the mother of invention. The DeepSeek bombshell throughout 2025, the tech world was buzzing. Rumors were flying around a Chinese startup called DeepSeek. The company had already made waves with earlier models that performed as well as Western giants, but at a tiny fraction of the cost, creating a Sputnik moment for China's AI scene. All eyes were on its next model, DeepSeek V4. Then, in early 2026, the bombshell report landed. It claimed DeepSeek was making a radical and deeply symbolic choice. It had apparently decided not to give US firms like Nvidia or AMD early access to V4 for optimization. This is standard practice. Developers and chip makers work together to make sure new software runs great on the best hardware. Instead, DeepSeek reportedly gave exclusive early access to domestic Chinese chip companies, including Huawei and Cambricon. The message couldn't be clearer. This was a public and deliberate pivot. DeepSeek was designing its future, not for the Nvidia-dominated world, but for a new ecosystem built on Chinese silicon. That farewell to US chips was no longer just a nice idea, it was a go-to-market strategy. Speculation about V4's powers only added to the drama. Reports pointed to a launch in late April 2026. The rumored specs were just staggering. A model with a potential 1 trillion parameters, using an advanced mixture of experts' architecture to stay efficient. It was said to be natively multimodal, trained from the ground up on text, images, and video, and have a massive 1 million token context window. That's enough to process an entire software codebase or a stack of novels in a single go. These weren't just small upgrades. These were specs designed to go head-to-head with the next generation of models from OpenAI and others. But the wildest part was the story of how V4 was allegedly built. A senior US official reportedly told journalists that DeepSeek had initially trained the model on Nvidia's most advanced Blackwell chips, which are explicitly banned from being sent to China. The implication was that these chips were smuggled in, a claim Nvidia found far-fetched. According to these reports, after using sanctioned American hardware to get its breakthrough performance, DeepSeek was now painstakingly porting the model to run on Chinese processors like Huawei's Ascend chips, effectively reverse engineering a path to independence. If true, this two-step process, train on the best, then deploy on your own, is a brilliant, if controversial, strategy. It admits that Nvidia's training hardware is still top dog while building the off-ramp from it. It would mean the export controls failed twice. They didn't stop China from getting the best chips for the crucial training phase, and they created the huge incentive to make sure Chinese companies never needed them again. The development of DeepSeek V4 was delayed several times, with reports pointing to the huge engineering hurdles of working with new hardware. But the delays themselves became a test of China's technological resolve. Could they actually pull this off? This wasn't just a product update, it was a geopolitical earthquake. By shutting out American firms and embracing its own, DeepSeek was drawing a new map of the AI world, one where the centers of power were no longer just in Silicon Valley. The message was clear. China wasn't just trying to catch up, it was building a whole new road to the future. China's parallel AI universe DeepSeek V4's reported pivot to homegrown hardware isn't happening in a vacuum. It's the tip of the spear in a massive, coordinated national strategy. For years, China has been methodically working on a long-term plan for self-sufficiency in AI. This ambition is now starting to pay off, creating a complete, vertically integrated AI ecosystem that runs parallel to the Western, Nvidia-dominated world. The foundation of this new universe is hardware. At its heart is Huawei. Once a struggling telecom giant under heavy US sanctions, the company has reinvented itself as a national semiconductor champion. Its Ascend series of AI chips, especially the Ascend 910B, has become the main alternative to Nvidia's hardware. In early 2026, reports claimed major Chinese tech firms like Baidu and ByteDance were shifting parts of their AI training to the Huawei Ascend platform. A ByteDance executive even reportedly admitted the performance gap with Nvidia's export-grade H20 chip was much smaller than we imagined, and the progress is picking up speed. Benchmarks from early 2026 suggested that Huawei's Ascend 910B delivered around 80% of the performance of Nvidia's H20 but used significantly less power. This points to a different philosophy. While American firms often chase raw power at any cost, Chinese firms seem focused on good enough performance that's highly optimized for their own market, like in smart city projects and industrial automation. It's a pragmatic strategy. Why build a Swiss Army knife when what you need is a durable, cheap, and efficient shovel? This hardware push is bigger than just one company. In April 2026, e-commerce giant Alibaba announced it had deployed a massive 10,000 card computing cluster powered by its own T-head Zhenwu AI chips. This came just weeks after reports of a similar 10,000 card cluster built with Huawei's Ascend chips. These aren't just test runs, they're industrial-scale systems designed to power the country's AI development, with Alibaba already planning to expand its cluster to 100,000 cards. With the hardware in place, the software is flourishing. Forced to work with less powerful chips, Chinese AI developers have had to innovate around the restrictions. They've become leaders in making their algorithms incredibly efficient. DeepSeek, for instance, has heavily utilized techniques like mixture of experts, or MO. MO allows a model to be huge, but only activates a small, relevant part of it for any given task, which dramatically cuts down on computing costs. It's these kinds of software and architectural breakthroughs that really level the playing field. They prove that having the most raw power isn't the only way to build frontier AI. Better algorithms can make up for slightly weaker hardware, a lesson that has completely changed the calculus of the tech race. This combination of homegrown hardware and hyper-efficient software is China's answer to American sanctions. It's a self-sufficient, increasingly powerful, and economically viable alternative, a parallel AI universe taking shape right before our eyes. A new tech Cold War: the rise of a viable, independent Chinese AI ecosystem completely changes the global tech game. The small yard, high fence strategy, which was meant to slow China down, has instead acted as a supercharger, creating a powerful competitor and potentially splitting the world into two competing technology stacks. This new reality has huge implications for markets, for geopolitics, and for the future of innovation itself. The most immediate effect is economic. The assumption that Nvidia's dominance would last forever is being shattered. The market has already reacted nervously to this shift. Huawei's success has already been a blow to Nvidia. After the US export ban basically handed Huawei a captive domestic market, it reportedly planned to triple its AI chip production in 2026, directly challenging what was once a key source of revenue for American chipmakers. More broadly, China is building a powerful economic engine around its own AI stack. By focusing on efficiency, Chinese AI solutions are positioned to be much more affordable. This cost advantage, combined with open source models, is speeding up AI adoption not just in China but across the developing world. Through programs like the Belt and Road Initiative, China is exporting entire AI-driven systems for smart cities and e-government, strengthening its global influence. For many nations, the choice between a pricey American system and a cheaper, good enough, Chinese one might be a no-brainer. This leads to the second major consequence: the erosion of America's technological fortress. For decades, US leadership in chip design was a core strategic asset. The pivot by companies like DeepSeek and the fast progress of Huawei prove that this advantage isn't permanent. If a top-tier AI model like V4 can truly run competitively on Huawei's newest chips, it validates China's entire self-sufficiency project. It would signal a material shift in the geopolitical tech landscape. This has forced a reckoning in Washington, with many analysts now arguing that the defensive containment strategy isn't enough. In response, new proposed legislation like the Match Act aims to tighten the screws even further, not just on advanced chips but on a wider range of semiconductor tools, suggesting an escalation into a full body lock on China's industry. Finally, we are watching the dawn of a split AI world. A future with two separate and potentially incompatible tech ecosystems raises all sorts of complicated questions. Will data trained on a Chinese AI be usable by a Western one? How will international projects work when their digital foundations are built on rival technologies? The story of DeepSeek V4 and its embrace of a domestic chip strategy is more than just about one company. It's the crystallizing moment of a new era. An era defined not by a single, globalized tech world, but by the tense, competitive coexistence of parallel universes. The race for AI supremacy is no longer a single track. It's now a multi-lane highway, and China has just proven it can build its own lane, with its own cars, driving toward its own destination. The story of DeepSeek V4 is a landmark chapter in the defining rivalry of our time. It shows that tech leadership isn't a birthright and that innovation can thrive under pressure, often in surprising ways. We are now entering a new phase of the AI revolution, one marked by competing ecosystems and soaring national ambitions. What we're seeing is the tech map of the world being redrawn in real time. The long-term consequences of this shift, for the economy, for global security, and for AI itself, are still unfolding. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on these critical developments in the US-China tech race, make sure to subscribe. And I'm curious to hear what you think. Is China's drive for self-sufficiency a threat to global innovation, or is this competition ultimately a good thing, pushing everyone to build better, more efficient technology? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.